Hello, welcome back to part 37 of this video tutorial how to build a Pacman game in XNA. Please don't forget to buy the content. Send €2.95 to PayPal account XNAPacman 2013 at hotmail.com. We send the content in 24 hours to your email address. In this tutorial we're going to create the player class and the player database, and we're going to create the HUD. So let's start with the player class. So go to project, add class, and we call it the player.cs. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to copy the using block from the object class, just like this. And it's a public class, so public class player. And the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to define some public variable, and the first one is a public int score, and we have a public int lives, and it's default 2, and it starts at 0, so we have 3 in total. The amount of lives. Alright. And that are the public variable. Alright. And that's the player class. So now we're going to create the player database, and we're going to do that in the items class. So go to the items class, and in the public section after the dot list we can create here a public static, and again it's a dictionary, and we're going to use a int for the key and the player class. And we call it the player DB, and we're going to create a new dictionary int player. Alright. A list that contains all the players. Alright. And now we have created the database. We're gonna add a player to the database, so we can do it here at the bottom. Add a player to the database. And now we can say here player db dot add, and the key is 0. And we're going to add a new player. Right? And now we have created the player database, and we have add a player to the database. We're going to create a HUD font, and therefore we need to go to our content project folder of the Pacman game, and we're going to add a new folder. So right click, add a new folder, and we call it the fonts folder. And now we're going to right click the font folder, and we're going to add a new item, and we're going to add sprite font, and we call it the HUD font. Right, so add the file, and what we're going to do here is we're going to change the style from regular to bold, just like this. So we now can save the file and close it. Now we have created the HUD font file. We need to define, and we're going to do that in the game class. So go to the game class, and in the public section at the bottom we're gonna say here public static, and it's a sprite font, and we call it the HUD font. Alright. Represents the HUD font. And now we have defined the font. We need to load the font, so go to the load content method, and here just at the top after the sprite pads we're gonna say here load the HUD font file. So now we can say here HUD font is equals to content dot load, and we're gonna load a sprite font, and it's in our fonts folder, and it's called the HUD font. Alright, and now we have create our font. We can create our HUD, so go to project, add class, and we call it the HUD.cs, and I use HUD in capital letters. So press add, and the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna copy the using block from the object class, just like this. And we're going to derive from our obj class. Right? The first thing we're going to do here is we're going to override the load content method. So public overrides load content, and we're going to remove the base load content. You don't need that. Load the contents for the HUD objects, and that's the content manager. And while we have no content for the HUD, we leave it empty. But we need this function in our HUD class, otherwise we get an error, because in the game class, in the load content method, we try to load the content for all the objects. So that's why we have the load content here. And now we're gonna create the draw method. So public overrides the draw, and we don't need the base draw, so let's delete that line. And the first thing we're gonna do here is we're gonna draw the header. So we can say here sprite bets.draw string, and we're gonna use our game1.HUD font, and we're gonna say here 1 up, and the position, it's a new vector 2, and we're going to use 48 by 0, and the color is white. Right? And now we can draw another line, so sprite bets.draw string. We're going to use our game1.HUD font, and we're going to draw here high score. Right? And the position, it's a new vector 2, and we're going to draw it at 160,0, and the color is white. Alright, and now we can draw the score on the screen. right? So we can say here spriteBats.draw string, and we're going to use the game1 HUD font, and we're going to draw here items.playerDB, and the index is 0, and we're going to draw the score, and we need to convert that to string, right? And we're going to draw it on position, so new vector 60 by 16, and the color is white. Okay. Draw the HUDs on the screen. The actual sprite bats. And that's the draw. Right? And now we can add the HUDs to the object list. So go to the items class, and in the public section at the bottom we can say here public static HUD, and we call it HUD. Right? We represent the HUD object. Alright. And now in the initialize method, here at the top we can say add the HUD objects to the object list. So we can say here object list.add, and then we can say here HUD is new HUD, right? So now we have added the HUDs to the object class. Let's see how it looks. So run this game. And there we have our HUD at the top of our screen. Right? I'm going to finish the tutorial here, and in the next tutorial we're going to handle the high score. So I hope you enjoy, and see you in the next tutorial. Bye.